Okay, we got early voting for the Texas primaries right around the corner. Alana Rocha with the Texas Tribune here to talk about that and so much more. We will get to all this stuff. But let's start, Alana, with early voting. It will start on Tuesday.
Right.
The Texas Tribune has a big guide for voters and a lot of information there.
Yeah, everything you need to know. You just go to texastribune.org and click on how to vote at the top, and it'll take you there. There's a field to even put your address in to see what state, house, and Senate districts you'll be voting on, statewide candidates, what you need to bring to the polls. Of course, voter ID has gone through the courts over the years, and you know, the short answer is you do need to bring a valid ID. One of, I think there's 7 different types that are eligible. If not, you can bring other documentation to be able to vote and have that vote count.
Yeah, so many important races and issues down ballot, certainly specific to your area, depending on where you are.
Right.
But of course, so many people are paying attention in a presidential year to the top of the ballot.
Yes.
We have had one primary, we have one whatever that caucus was.
Right.
To kind of change the field maybe already a little bit. What are your thoughts so far?
Yeah, I mean, well, early voting starts Tuesday the 18th, and by the time Super Tuesday rolls around, half of Texas voters will have cast a ballot, and we really only will have had Iowa and New Hampshire. Yes, Nevada and South Carolina will come, but you know, people won't really get a good gauge, and those early states aren't demographically representative of the electorate, right? I mean, they're not as diverse as Texas, so what happened in those states might not happen here. What it is giving those candidates who finished near the top is a momentum and a fundraising boost to be able to have the money to spend in an expensive state like Texas to blanket the airwaves and compete with a Michael Bloomberg who's not relying on any of that money.
Right, such a wild card out there.
Right.
But of course, the early red lights for Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren off the top of my head. That's
right, I mean, they've built particularly Warren, a good ground game. Biden's now getting started, but yeah, Bloomberg has a dozen or more field offices, and there's other, you know, Buttigieg, you're seeing more of his name around here as well. So yeah, we'll see, because I mean, that's a lot of delegates up for grabs here in Texas alone, let alone a dozen more states on that day.
It's going to be fascinating, and it's coming up so quickly. Moving on to other races, again, a little bit down ballot. We've talked about the Senate seat, Senator Cornyn's current Senate seat. He's running for re-election against a wide field of Democratic candidates, and one of them is getting a little star power support.
Alec Baldwin, the you know, most recently playing Trump on Saturday Night Live. He met Cristina Cincin Ramirez, one of the Democrats looking to challenge Cornyn, back in 2013. She was featured in a New York Times article, and he wanted to meet her. They met. They've been friends since. Talk evidently a couple times a week. He's kind of an informal campaign advisor, appealed to his 1 million Twitter followers in December to ask them to donate to her campaign. You know, but it could be a double-edged sword. Of course, it gives her name recognition in a crowded field where there's not much name recognition, but also Republicans use it as a Hollywood elite weighing in on a Texas race.
No doubt about it. But of course, we've talked about that Democratic field being so crowded right now.
Right.
She may need the help first to survive before she can get onto a general
For sure.
election.
You know, she took some heat earlier this year, or maybe late last year, for saying that Susan Sarandon was in support of her, of course, controversial actress figure because of, you know, her saying she voted for Bernie and wouldn't vote for Clinton and things like that. So not a great moment for Cincin on Twitter, but yeah, Baldwin couldn't hurt.
Yeah, interesting in this primary season. Okay, what's going on with Beto?
Beto O'Rourke. Yeah, I mean, you know, Democrats, or at least the Democratic Party, is looking at whether or not his involvement in certain races, you know, kind of good and the bad. They want to mobilize on how much he can engage people. I mean, 1,900 people, or no, 1,100 people from 19 states. He lured here to Texas for a special election state house race. But that also energized the Republicans to fundraise and say, hey, Beto O'Rourke's involved. We need to, you know, get the big guns out and you know, come out against him. So they're just trying to weigh his involvement moving forward.
So much fat. We didn't get to the last thing, which is the 10th annual Texas Tribune Festival. Date? What's the date?
September 24th through the 26th.
We will not be done talking about that by a long shot. That will be massive. It's bigger every year, and then in a presidential year.
Our 10th annual, yep,
that
for sure. Days out from the election.
All right, there's a tease, a long tease for that. Alana Rocha, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.